Chen Tian arrived at the zombie world and opened a coffin shop next to Jiushu Yizhuang. System prompt: create coffins, suppress zombies, reward Chen Tian with various treasures. Build a wooden coffin, obtain equipment, spells. Craft a golden coffin and obtain the Heavenly Talisman. Craft a purple gold divine coffin and obtain the 7 killing orders for gods and ghosts. One day in the future, Chen Tian will cultivate a corpse immortal, a corpse king, and a ghost king by crafting coffins. Uncle 9. Besides being handsome, Chen Tian is invincible in life-saving. Ren Tingting, Ma Shaoling. Brother Chen, he is the man I admire the most in my life. Wen Kai, Chiu Sheng. Senior brother Chen Tian, with the body of a mortal, suppresses endless ghosts and evil spirits. Keywords of the novel. Jiushu. Opening coffin shop, suppressing and killing Li Gui without pop-ups, Jiushu. Opening coffin shop, suppressing and killing Li Gui. Download the complete text. Jiushu. Opening coffin shop, suppressing and killing Li Gui. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Crossing the zombie world and building a coffin shop. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crossing the zombie world and building a coffin shop. Rinjia Town. Coffin shop. Chen Tian's lips slowly curved upwards as the coffin shop opened, and he was very satisfied. Ding dong. Congratulations to the host for successfully completing the progress and finally having a coffin shop in Renjiazhuang. Ding dong. Get a reward for the Heavenly Fire Spirit Body. Ding dong. Congratulations on successfully connecting to the coffin store system. The sound of the system coming from Chen Tian's mind gave him a heavy sigh of relief. He traveled to the zombie world where Lin Jiu lived, and now he has gained access to the coffin shop system. In fact, the original owner was Lin Jiu's disciple, which means his uncle was Lin Jiu and Lin Fengjiao. The system assigned Chen Tian the initial task of building a coffin shop in Rinjia Town. Now that the coffin shop has been built, Chen Tian quickly flipped through the introduction provided by the system. Introduction to Coffin Shop System. The host personally makes coffins, seals and suppresses ghosts, zombies, and monsters, among others. The host can absorb and suppress the spiritual energy of zombies and fierce ghosts. The more powerful these guys are, the more spiritual energy they can provide, and even manipulate these ghosts to do things for themselves. Zombies and ghosts can become powerful through synthesis. Sealing down zombies and ghosts also comes with rewards. Each zombie or ghost has a corresponding system currency, which can be used to exchange required items in the system store. You can also earn system currency rewards by completing system distribution tasks. Ding dong. The distribution mission has arrived, and the host needs to make the first coffin of this life. The reward is a direct pass card for Maoshan's Talisman Realm, an upgrade card for Maoshan's physical skills, 10 system coins, and 2 sets of dust removal clothes. In no time, Chen Tian's mind came back with a system asking him to make the first coffin. Chen Tian learned about the original owner information through the control panel. Name. Chen Tian. Age. 18. Artistic conception. 3 layers of body refining spirit value. 12/30 system currency. 0 talent value. Heavenly Fire Spirit Constitution Maoshan Talisman. Yellow Talisman Level 1 Maoshan Tissue. 1 layer sealing coffin. 0 daily spiritual energy acquisition value. 0 backpack. None. Congratulations, junior brother. Congratulations, junior brother. At this moment, Qiusheng and Wen Kai slowly walked towards Chen Tian, their faces filled with envy as they spoke. Thank you, thank you. Chen Tian quickly thanked Qiusheng and Wen Kai repeatedly. The two were still disciples of Shi Bolinjiu, but they looked carefree and carefree. Today is the opening, isn't it? Chen Tian. The man, dressed in a black robe with a dignified expression, was slowly walking towards Chen Tian. It was Lin Jiu who scanned the coffin shop, his gaze fixed on the brand new plaque, and he nodded in satisfaction. Yeah. I also want to thank you, senior uncle, for your help. Chen Tian knew that the successful opening of this coffin shop was thanks to Lin Jiu's help, and at the thought of it, his face couldn't help but show a grateful expression. It's like Master Lin Jiu raising some money for himself and persuading the boss to transfer it to him at a slightly lower price. Uncle Lin's reputation in the local area is quite good, so the boss did not continue to negotiate, but when he went to negotiate and said he wanted to build a coffin shop, the boss definitely did not agree. What's the point of being polite to Master? We're still neighbors, so it's appropriate to help. Lin Jiu took out something wrapped in red cloth from his pocket and handed it to Chen Tian. Don't underestimate what Shibui gave you. This ginseng may help you improve your cultivation, he said. Thank you, Master. Chen Tian didn't hesitate to quickly take the Millennium Ginseng, which he could use to improve his cultivation. Standing next to him, Qiu Sheng and Wen Kai were very envious. My own store is a bit special, and it's not easy to invite neighbors over for dinner and drinks because there are still some taboos. Mainly because my new store has opened and there are no coffins in the coffin shop yet, so I want to quickly make one. The front hall of the coffin shop is used to display and place coffins. The backyard consists of a bedroom, kitchen, warehouse, and 3 tiled rooms. There is a small courtyard next to the house where coffins are made. There is only one type of coffin shop commonly used to accommodate normally deceased individuals. And Chen Tian's coffin shop, besides this ordinary one, has another type. This type of coffin is usually only the size of a normal adult male's palm and is used to house ghosts and monsters. Chen Tian thought of making one of each of these 2 coffins first. Subsequently, Chen Tian pulled out several solid poplar trees from the warehouse, and the 3 layers of refined wood were several times larger than ordinary human resources. Chen Tian easily took these trees outside. Bang! The wood fell straight to the ground, and in an instant, dust was flying. To make a coffin, tools such as a plane, saw, chisel, ruler, ink bucket, and double-pointed nails are needed. Chen Tian has already prepared everything. The upper part of a regular coffin is composed of 6-page boards, with slightly inferior ones being 8-page boards or 10 and 12-page boards. Ordinary families use 12-leaf boards, with 3-leaf boards on both sides. The bottom of the coffin is also a 3-leaf board, and the lid of the coffin is a 3-leaf board. A wealthy family uses 10-leaf boards, with 3-leaf boards on both sides, 2-leaf boards at the bottom of the coffin, and 2-leaf boards on the lid of the coffin. Moreover, 6-page and 8-page boards are rarely purchased and mainly cannot be afforded. Chen Tian's strength was greater than that of an ordinary person, so he sawed the board 3 times and quickly began assembling it. Although it was my first time making a coffin and the technique was unfamiliar, I still completed this large coffin within 2 hours. Chen Tian's 3-layer body, which was refined, provided him with great help in making coffins. The saw was almost worn out and caught fire. Chen Tian looked at the coffin he had made in front of him and felt very proud of himself. Ding dong! Congratulations on successfully completing the task of making your first coffin. You have obtained the Realm Upgrade card of Maoshan Talisman, Maoshan Body Art Upgrade card, System Currency 10, and 2 sets of Dust Avoidance sets. Successfully upgraded the card using Maoshan Talisman, now it is the 2nd level artistic conception of Maoshan Talisman. Successfully used Maoshan Body Art Upgrade card, now it is the 2nd level artistic conception of Maoshan Body Art. As soon as the system finished speaking, a large amount of pure consciousness flooded into Chen Tianqing, and both talismans and body techniques were upgraded. Ding dong! The system distributes a new task. By sealing a fierce ghost with a coffin, you can obtain 2 Maoshan Talisman upgrade cards and 20 system currency. The sound effects of the system came back to Chen Tian's mind, and the system was really diligent. The task updates were very timely. Quickly, Chen Tian only spent a few minutes making a palm-sized coffin. As the sky gradually darkened, Chen Tian placed the prepared ordinary coffin in the front hall and then returned to the backyard to take out the ginseng that Lin Jiu had sent during the day. This ginseng is not long, it is estimated to have a growth process of 50 years. In this era, things are all native and there is no falsehood. The spiritual energy contained in ginseng is quite clean and rich. Chen Tian made a simple treatment for ginseng and then ate it raw. The taste was similar to eating tender bamboo shoots, but it was not as crispy as bamboo shoots, but more mellow. After the ginseng was completely consumed, Chen Tian sat on the ground waiting for the infusion of spiritual energy. Ding dong. Congratulations on receiving 3 + 7 + 2 spiritual energy. Add 7 to your spiritual energy. Add 4 to your spiritual energy. The sound of the system came from Chen Tian's mind one by one, and it took half an hour to end the feast. The spiritual energy of the entire ginseng root had been completely absorbed. Ordinary people eat ginseng, which is also known as stewed soup, but this will lose more than half of their spiritual energy in medicinal effects, so people eat it raw. But ordinary people cannot absorb it, eating raw may not even absorb 1/10 of the spiritual energy and medicinal effects. But Chen Tian is different. With the help of the system, he has absorbed the spiritual energy in this ginseng completely, which he cannot do alone. Finally, Chen Tian absorbed 108 spiritual energy points. Name: Chen Tian. Age: 18. Artistic conception: 3 layers of body refining spirit value. 120/30. Chen Tian Yuan originally had 12 spiritual energy points, but by absorbing 108 spiritual energy points from ginseng, he now has 120 spiritual energy points. Ding dong. Congratulations on successfully upgrading your artistic conception. Would you like to start upgrading now? Up. Chen Tian quickly answered the upgrade. Ding dong. Congratulations on upgrading to the 4th level of the cultivation realm, consuming 30 spiritual energy points. Ding dong. Congratulations on upgrading to the 5th level of the cultivation realm, consuming 40 spiritual energy points. Ding dong. Congratulations on upgrading to the 6th level of the cultivation realm, consuming 50 spiritual energy points. Chen Tian upgraded directly from the 3rd level realm of refining to the 6th level realm of refining, successfully consuming all spiritual energy points. Chen Tian felt the aura of flames filling his body, and then checked his meridians and dantian's condition. Chen Tian can only absorb 0.1 spiritual energy points when practicing for an hour without the heavenly fire spirit body before. Now that you have the heavenly fire spirit body, you can absorb 1 spiritual energy point by meditating for an hour, which has increased tenfold in one go. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Business Visits, Buying Coffin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Business Visits, Buying Coffin. It was just dark, and there were still 4 hours until tomorrow morning. Chen Tian quickly sat down on the ground to practice. The next day, the sun rose and shone directly into Chen Tian's room, hitting him. He successfully absorbed 4 spiritual energy points. Squeak. Chen Tian slowly walked out of the room and began to wash up. After finishing, he went to the front hall and picked up tung oil to brush the coffin. Adding tung oil to the coffin is mainly for anti-corrosion and insect prevention. Then Chen Tian made another coffin, simply coated it with tung oil and placed it directly in the courtyard. Is there anyone? Junior brother. At this moment, Wen Kai was shouting outside, business is here. Business. Chen Tian poured a cup of tea for Wen Kai and then asked. Wen Kai was sweating profusely and panting heavily. He picked up the tea that Chen Tian had poured for him and swallowed it in one gulp. Then he said to Chen Tian, a man has died in Xiaolin Township and needs a coffin. That family approached my master, and then my master asked me to call out to you. Later, I will carry a coffin to Xiaolin Township. Okay. Let's go now. Chen Tian led the divine meeting and delivered the business to his doorstep. He immediately lifted the coffin he had prepared yesterday and set off. But Chen Tian was very curious and asked, how come this person didn't exist? Senior brother. It's just hanging. Wen Kai said with confusion, actually, I have always been puzzled as to why a man of all sizes would hang himself. Jiushu told me that this man couldn't bear to think about it because he was wearing a green hat. Hanging oneself. After listening to Wen Kai finish speaking, Chen Tian had his own judgment. Many people who commit suicide by hanging are feeling depressed and have yet to seek revenge. This kind of death method is most likely to become a fierce ghost after death. Is this not my own task, so I have hope? Suppress the first fierce ghost, and firmly seize the opportunity to strive to complete the task. Chen Tianma started moving things non-stop, pulled a carriage, and said to Wen Kai, Senior brother Wen Kai, come and help me. Don't rush like this. Wen Kai complained while walking over to help Chen Tian lift the coffin. Wen Kai has 9 layers of body refining, while Chen Tian has 4 layers of body refining. This coffin is still a small significance to them. In no time, Chen Tian was ready and drove the carriage towards Xiaolin Township. Chen Tianqing, while driving the carriage, did not forget to inquire about Lin Jiu's whereabouts. Where's your master? Master has something to do today. He went to show a family feng shui and said he will only come back tonight. Master has been really busy lately. After watching feng shui, I have to go to another village to summon souls for the lost child. The day after tomorrow, I made another appointment with Mr. Ren to discuss the relocation of graves. Wen Kai thought and smiled happily, Master, it's better to be busy so that I don't have to be scolded. Chen Tian only heard about the relocation of graves the day after tomorrow. The pace of this system is really fast, and the main task is about to start. What I need to do now is to improve my realm. If the zombie of Lord Ren can be sealed by me, I will definitely help me hard. You can also absorb a continuous stream of spiritual energy points through him. Drive. 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 Chen Tian's heart was filled with joy, and then he thought of quickly resolving the matter. The carriage quickly drove down to Lin Township. Chen Tian just got up and didn't have time to eat breakfast. On the way, he bought 2 white mantu. Xiaolin Township also belongs to Ren's hometown, but the journey is too far, and there is a bit of bamboo forest on the road, with a heavy yin energy. There are many graves in the bamboo forest, many of which are already damaged. Just now, I saw wild dogs digging graves, so I must have smelled the smell of decaying corpses and wanted to have a feast. Nausea, nauseous. Wen Kai sitting next to Chen Tian vomited at this scene. Chen Tian then thought about how many fierce ghosts would surely die in such a gloomy and chaotic burial mound. If he had time, he would come and seal off all these ghosts. This not only provided him with spiritual energy points, but also did a good deed. How long had passed, Chen Tian and Wen Kai drove to the door of the deceased's house. Chen Tian began to scan the house, with a tall courtyard and white lanterns hanging on the beams. People in mourning clothes walked back and forth. The open space in front of the door was singing a play, and the people in the theater troupe were shouting loudly. This gesture was likely to attract a lot of money from this household. Chen Tian walked inside, first smelling the faint fragrance of burning paper, and then hearing a faint cry. Chen Tian quickly took out 2 leaves, and he quickly recited a spell before putting it in his own eyes. When Chen Tian opened his eyes again, he saw that there was indeed a black aura on the courtyard, and it gradually gathered more and more. This was a sign of the emergence of a fierce ghost. Chen Tian thought it would suit his heart, and he also took the small coffin that suppressed the evil spirit. It's probably not long before it will come in handy. Come over here, Wen Kai. Not far from them, a man in his 60s walked towards them while greeting them. Chen Tian. Let me introduce you to Mr. Ma, who is mainly in charge of funeral affairs. You know each other. Old Ma dressed in simple clothes, and Wen Kai introduced it to Chen Tian. Chen Tian nodded to Wen Kai and then followed Old Man Ma to the front yard to move the coffin. The deceased was a wealthy family from Xiaolin Township, surnamed Lin. How about I call a few people to help? Ma Lao Tu said after looking at Chen Tian. Wen Kai is Lin Jiu's disciple with excellent cultivation, and he and Qiu Xing can easily move coffins. Mr. Ma has never dealt with Chen Tian and doesn't know his strength. He just glanced at Chen Tian and thought of calling for a few people to help him lift the coffin. Don't worry, lifting a coffin is still a small deal for my martial uncle's disciple. You underestimate him too much. Wen Kai shook his hand at Old Ma. He had just been lifted onto the carriage by himself and Chen Tian. You can rest assured, Steward Ma, and leave it to me. Chen Tianzhen didn't care about these small matters and smiled at the old man Ma. Ma Lao Tu saw that Chen Tian understood the rules very well, and he was very pleased. He also smiled at Chen Tian and began to look at him. He was dressed in a black robe, but it couldn't conceal his fierce temperament. This person has a very good appearance and knows the rules so well. He is a very good young man. This calm personality is much stronger than Qiusheng and Wen Kai. Old Ma thought about it and thought of his daughter. The coffin was soon carried into the room, where several benches of the same height were placed. The coffin should be placed on the bench to prevent it from absorbing the earth's atmosphere. Young man, can you do me a favor? Mr. Ma walked towards Chen Tian and spoke up. You said. Chen Tian looked at the old man Ma calling himself and replied. This person's appearance is very ugly, and none of them dare to go up and lift it. I want you and Wen Kai to help put it in the coffin, said old Ma. Mr. Ma, we are definitely willing to help with lifting people, but this matter is taboo. Please give us some money as disaster relief money. Wen Kai heard the wind and quickly said to old man Ma. Mr. Ma is also very conflicted, but it's not good if the body is not carried by anyone. I promise you, each of you has 10 copper coins, said the old man Ma. Chen Tian and I will make money. Wen Kai looked happy and thought of earning these 10 copper coins before going to his hometown for a night of leisure. Chen Tian ignored him and just followed old man Ma to the room where the deceased was. As soon as he entered, he saw a white cloth covering the bed, and several people standing next to him dared not move. These people have a common characteristic of having black hair between their eyebrows. Chen Tian estimated that it was connected when they approached the body just now. In addition to these people, there is also a woman and a middle-aged man in the room. This woman is wearing mourning clothes, with tears on her face. Although this cannot stop her beauty, she is probably the wife of the deceased. Then this middle-aged man is probably the father of the deceased, with tears on his face. Only those who have experienced the pain of a white-haired person giving a black-haired person will understand. Lying on the bed was the deceased, emitting a strong yin energy all over his body. Chen Tian could feel that the temperature in this room was much lower than outside. If a normal person stays here all the time, they will definitely get sick. Even dead, what are you afraid of? Wen Kai was about to go and lift the white cloth off his body. Stop. Chen Tian quickly stopped Wen Kai from lifting the white cloth, but unfortunately, Wen Kai had already lifted it. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Tonight, the dead returns. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Tonight, the dead returns. The white cloth was lifted. The deceased's face was exposed, with protruding eyeballs and a purple complexion, with tiny blood vessels protruding from the entire face. For Wen Kai, these were all small scenes, but he never imagined that the body was not simple. Watching the black energy surge towards Wen Kai Wen Kai didn't have time to react and inhale it into his body. Subsequently, Wen Kai saw the deceased's face on the bed start to wriggle, with all the tiny blood vessels protruding from his face exploding. Blood was everywhere, and a wicked smile began to appear on his mouth. The protruding eyes stared at him intently, with occasional screams in their ears. Chen Tian felt the temperature in the room drop again. Help! After shouting loudly, Wen Kai ran out, his face turned pale with fear, and his hands and feet were sweating cold. If it were a motionless dead literary talent, he wouldn't be afraid, but seeing the body smiling at him just now really scared him. Chen Tian was already prepared, and when black energy rushed towards him, he used an exorcism suit to block it, and immediately covered it with a white cloth. A few strong men stood beside and watched as Wen Kai looked frightened, and they remembered that they were just like him. Mr. Ma looked at the literary talent running out of the room and then at Chen Tian standing straight in the room, and his heart grew even more fond of Chen Tian. Chen Tian must be an expert. Who is in charge of your family? Chen Tian asked the people in the room. It's me, it's me. What's up? The middle-aged man replied in confusion. What's going on, young man? Old Ma was also puzzled and quickly asked. The deceased is expected to come back tonight, Chen Tian said. What are you saying? How will you come back tonight? The middle-aged man had just finished listening to Chen Tian's words with a shocked expression on his face, and his voice also became excited. How did he come back? Alive or not? At some point, a gentle breeze blew in the room, and everyone inside felt the cold. Look at him like this, can he be a living person? Chen Tian said to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man couldn't help but swallow his saliva, and as his body softened, he knelt down in front of Chen Tian. Please save our house. Please. Don't worry, we are already Taoists from Maoshan, and solving these issues is our responsibility. You don't need to be so polite. Chen Tian quickly helped the middle-aged man up and said to him, you need to prepare something for me. You say, I'll go get it for you now. The middle-aged man is very excited. I want a black dog, the adult type, and also a rooster, cinnabar, peach wood. Willow is the kind of fresh willow with leaves on it. Before it gets dark today, it must be ready. Chen Tian told the middle-aged man all these things. I'm afraid you'll have to trouble Steward Ma to personally handle these things. The middle-aged man said to the old man Ma on the side. Okay, I'll go prepare now. The old man Ma readily agreed and then looked at the white cloth on the bed, saying. Do we still need to move this body? Find 2 more people and have them stick willow leaves to their eyes and have walnuts in their mouths. Stuff willow branches in their noses and then go and lift them, and everything will be fine. Chen Tian said to old man Ma. Willow trees, willow leaves, walnuts and other things can prevent the influx of black air, and one can actually lift them directly. It doesn't look like holding a corpse alone. It's better to tell them the method and let them handle it themselves. Okay. I'll go prepare something for you now. As the old man Ma spoke, he took the strong man outside to look for something. The person who committed suicide by hanging must be feeling depressed and resentful. Now this person probably only shows signs of becoming a fierce ghost when they have too much resentment. Chen Tian still wants to ask a middle-aged man why the deceased died. But on second thought, it's not easy to ask. Let's wait for the ghost to come back and ask again. If he hadn't turned into a fierce ghost, it would have been great if an ordinary wild ghost had spoken of its own suffering and helped him solve it. But if he turns into a fierce ghost, even if he solves his heart knot, he must be solved. Chen Tian, this is a great opportunity to make a lot of money. When Kai walked over and whispered to Chen Tian, this family is a wealthy family, they must be generous with their investment. If you help them, don't forget to collect the money. Don't worry, I'm not that foolish. Chen Tian nodded to Wen Kai and then walked out. Grandpa Lin doesn't look foolish either, but it's not easy to make big money. He won't take the initiative to speak up, so when things are done, he will naturally rush to give money. He also knows that this matter is not a small matter. Chen Tian, how could you know so clearly? Wen Kai spoke incredulously. In no time, there was only a middle-aged man and the deceased's wife in the room where the body was placed. The temperature in the room was getting lower and lower, as if a third pair of eyes were looking at the middle-aged man and his wife. The feeling of being monitored makes the middle-aged man and her very uncomfortable. Dad! Can you tell me if he will really come back tonight? The woman first looked around, then glanced at the man covered in white cloth, and then whispered to the middle-aged man. I'm not sure, but this thing is really strange. First of all, the rope couldn't burn, and now the body can't be moved. Maybe coming back tonight will take the lives of both of us. The middle-aged man is very scared. Are we just waiting to die like this? The woman also began to be anxious. We can only wait for that master to save us now. The middle-aged man had no choice but to go and give him more money to do his best. Chen Tian has been wandering around this household since he walked out. It is indeed a wealthy family, with carefully divided houses, backyard for rest, and front yard for welcoming guests. But upon careful observation, it is not difficult to find that the feng shui in this place is not good, and there is also a phenomenon of losing children and grandchildren. If that's the case, then the deceased is not a real man, at least he can't have sex with a woman. It seems there is really a story. This tree is growing really well. Chen Tian looked at the peach tree in front of him in shock. This tree has been around for at least 20 years now, and the thighs of an adult man are already thick. If it were to be used for coffins, it would be a great material. Peachwood coffins are perfect for sealing zombies, and the remaining coffins can also be made into peachwood swords to send to Uncle Jiu. I still owe Uncle Jiu a favor. Now it can be returned. Chen Nizhen liked peach trees more and more as she looked at them, and then began to stroke them. How could a Taoist not like peach trees? Still this old peach wood. Let me find you now. Chen Tian watched the middle-aged man running over, sweating profusely. What's up with you, Mr. Lin? Chen Tian asked slowly. Master. You can take this money for now. I need your help tonight. Mr. Lin stuffed 10 large oceans into Chen Tian's hand. If I encounter such a situation now, I want to solve it quickly. I can't control anything anymore, so I can only pray that I can use money to buy peace. He even wants to kowtow a few heads to Chen Tian. To be honest, I have a crush on something in your family, it depends on whether you are willing to give it or not. Chen Tian didn't beat around the bush and said directly. I'll give you whatever you want. Mr. Lin can only grasp the life-saving straw of literacy now. How can he disagree with his request? I have a strong connection with this peach tree. When I finish tonight, I want to take it away, Chen Tian said, touching the peach tree. Oh, it's just a peach tree. I'll have someone deliver it to your doorstep tomorrow. Mr. Lin thought he wanted something, just a peach tree. Thank you in advance, then. Chen Tian looked happy. 1 hour later. Old Ma hurriedly returned, still carrying the things pointed out by Chen Tian in his hand. An adult black dog, attacking, cinnabar, willow with leaves, peach wood. Now these things are all neatly placed on the front desk. Around 40 or 50 people gathered in front of the yard, mostly to watch the excitement, with men being the majority, and many of them also coming to help. All the things you need are here, what are you doing now? Mr. Ma looked at Chen Tian and asked. Yes, what should we do now? Mr. Lin was also very anxious. Everyone looked at Chen Tian together, fully trusting him. Hurry up and put the body in the coffin, let's go, I'll go too, Chen Tianchao said to them. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Waiting for the rabbit, wild ghosts come home. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 4. Waiting for the rabbit, wild ghosts come home. You must succeed. Ah Yang and Ah Mao. Mr. Lin said and put a piece of ocean into their hands. Yang and Io are famous strong men in the local area, with dark and strong skin, and they look like they are only in their 30s. They were wearing khaki-colored jackets, revealing tight muscle lines. Chen Tian secretly chuckled, Mr. Lin is really rich. Why do we have to ask for another sum? Who doesn't love money? Don't worry, leave it to us. Ah Yang and Ah Mao looked at the money in their hands with great joy and enthusiasm. Chen Tian quickly glued peach leaves onto their eyelids, stuffed willow leaves into their nostrils and ears, and let them stuff a handful of walnuts into their mouths. Due to willow leaves stuffed in their noses, they can only inhale through their mouths. Could you please help us more later? A Yang and a Mao handed Chen Tian a piece of ocean in their hands and said, here's this ocean for you. I'll just share it with a Mao. Chen Tian picked up the ocean and took out 2 talismans from his pocket. Putting them in his inner garment can ward off evil spirits, he said, thank you so much, thank you so much. Yang and Ah Mao quickly took the talisman and put it in their arms, and now both of them felt at ease. With the help of Chen Tian, the two carried the body to the front of the coffin. The lid of the coffin is open, and you can see that the cloth underneath the coffin is extremely luxurious, as well as the shimmering pillow. It's really not an ordinary wealthy family. When Ah Yang and Ah Mao put the body into the coffin, everything went smoothly. Bang! The lid of the coffin quickly closed. This time, nothing really happened. Ah Mao quickly checked himself and exclaimed in surprise when he saw that he was fine. I also have to thank Master Chen for his talismans. Ah Mao took out the talisman and kept it in a more concealed place. Master Chen's talismans are really effective, the lively man shouted to Ah Mao. This is really amazing. Master Chen, do you sell talismans? A woman at the door asked. Sell it, why not sell it? A piece of ocean only sells 2, I only have 4 here, who do you want? Chen Tian said as he took out all the exorcism talismans from his pocket. Master Chen, give it to me. I want a piece of ocean and a piece of paper. Before Chen Tian could react, the exorcism suit in his hand had already been snatched away by Mr. Lin in exchange for the 4 large ocean pieces in his hand. Okay, then I'll give it to you. Chen Tian didn't say anything more. This shocked Wen Kai, how could he still sell this exorbitant costume for exorbitant prices? Usually, it's for giving away. Now a talisman for warding off evil actually requires a piece of ocean. Junior brother is really extraordinary. You're too stingy, right? Just 1 exorcism talisman per person is enough. What are you doing with all this? A strong man at the door shouted to Mr. Lin. I use 4 sheets alone, 1 on my head, 1 on my chest, 1 on my back, and 1 on my pillow when I sleep. Mr. Lin shouted at the man, showing everyone how scared he was of death. Evil warding talismans, who wants them? 2 pieces only require 1 ocean. Chen Tian immediately picked up a brush and started drawing. After finishing, he shouted to the people outside. This anti-evil costume was painted by Chen Tian with a brush dipped in cinnabar and chicken blood. As for the rooster that was just on the table, it has already been thrown to the ground. There are talismans again, hurry up, now 2 of them only cost 1 ocean, the middle-aged woman exclaimed in surprise. Master Chen, I want 2 tickets, I want 2 tickets. Master Chen, leave me 4 tickets. Leave it for me. Leave it for me. Now this spiritual hall is a mess, all people clamoring to buy talismans. At this moment, Mr. Lin appeared very embarrassed as he had spent the money in vain. Not many villagers buy talismans, but unfortunately they buy too many. Chen Tian made 30 yuan in one go. Including the 10 yuan given by Mr. Lin and 1 yuan given by Ah Mao, the coffin was sold for 8 yuan, and I gained 49 yuan from this trip. Mainly because one can still complete tasks and receive system rewards. This makes Chen Tian very happy. After they finished buying the exorcism talisman, Chen Tian quickly drew the ghost-killing talisman for himself. Turning around, he picked up a knife and carved the wood into a bowl shape. "Go find me a rope and tie the dog," Chen Tian said to Wen Kai. "Okay." Wen Kai gave all the hemp ropes in the corner to Chen Tian. The onlookers stared closely at Chen Tian, afraid of missing his performance, and even the wife of the deceased came out to watch. Woo! The black dog seemed to sense danger and began barking incessantly. Chen Tian tried to hold down the black dog, but the dog couldn't move in an instant. He then tied his 4 legs with a hemp rope, and in an instant, a knife cut through the black dog's throat. Z. Hot black dog blood spurted out of the throat. The black dog, bound in various ways, is still struggling with all its might, but it is also powerless to turn back. The black dog's blood poured into the peachwood bowl that Chen Tian gang had just dug, without leaving a single drop. The onlookers were very disgusted to see this scene. Chen Tian didn't care and threw the black dog and rooster together. Then Chen Tian picked up a brush and started drawing on the paper again, but what was different was that after finishing this painting, he threw the paper into black dog's blood. Amazingly, the paper instantly sank to the bottom of the bowl. Then he took out a stick of incense from the altar table, silently recited a few words to him, and directly inserted the incense into the blood of the black dog. The incense instantly ignited. Surprisingly, it was emitting red smoke and a foul odor wafted towards them. The incense burned out in less than a minute, and then Chen Tian put the willow into the black dog's blood. The willow has good toughness, and soon all parts of the willow stick to black dog blood. Finally, after Chen Tian finished everything, he let out a long sigh and said, "It's done. Master Chen, what else should we do?" Grandpa Lin quickly came over and asked. "Let's roast this rooster, and don't waste this dog," Chen Tian said slowly. "Okay, what else should we do?" "There's nothing else. When your son comes back tonight, I'll take him in." Chen Tian finished talking to Mr. Lin and walked towards the table. Suddenly, he thought of something and said to Mr. Lin, "Put more chili peppers on me." "Okay, okay." Mr. Lin relies on him. "Senior brother, here you are." Chen Tian took out 3 large coins from his pocket and gave them to Wen Kai. "Thank you so much, thank you so much." As Wen Kai spoke, he brought the ocean over and said happily, "It's great to be with you. You can get money and eat meat." Chen Tian looked at Wen Kai, who was thin and small, and shook his head. "Shibwa is too righteous, he can't earn much money on a regular basis, and his life is not easy either. I estimate that meat is only available during festivals and holidays." Jiushu is stronger than Wen Kai, mainly because Jiushu's aunt cooks delicious food to support others. Time passed slowly, and Chen Tian finished eating meat and chicken and slept for a while. Mr. Lin also understands very well. He called Chen Tian into the backyard and called for a maid to serve him. "Is the delicate and soft quilt uncomfortable?" The sky gradually darkened, the weather became gloomy, and a gust of wind trembled and shivered. The Lin family is decorated with lanterns and looks very bright. The people who watched the excitement just now have all gone back to their respective homes, only a few men who stayed for money. This group of people is currently eating meat and drinking alcohol. These strong men usually don't get this kind of opportunity, and now they have also benefited from Chen Tian's glory. Everyone was very excited, only Mr. Lin and that woman were worried. Shwa shwa shwa. A gust of gloomy wind blew towards them, and a few candles in the funeral hall were extinguished. Mr. Lin and the deceased's wife were very afraid. "Dad! Dad! Dad! Dad!" Quickly, a voice came in from outside the spiritual hall, which was very ethereal, but upon closer inspection, it seemed to be in my own ear. For a moment, both the strong man and the old man Ma reacted and looked neatly at the spiritual hall one by one. Only Mr. Lin and the wife of the deceased were frightened and sweated profusely. "Dad, I live so hard, it's too hard." The sound echoed towards the spiritual hall, hitting Mr. Lin's heart with a single blow. In an instant, a man dressed in white appeared floating in mid-air outside the spiritual hall, with his hair covering half of his face. Upon closer inspection, there was a purple strangulation mark on his neck. He was slowly drifting towards the spiritual hall, emitting yin energy all over his body. "So there really are ghosts, there are ghosts." One of the strong men shouted and fainted. "I didn't harm you, I didn't harm you. Don't kill me, there's really a ghost," the other strong men also shouted. Some people collapsed on the ground, some even wet their pants, and some even lost control of urination and defecation. Ma Lao Tu, a Yang, and a Mao are relatively good, but their faces are also pale with fear. Mr. Lin, who was sitting on the spiritual hall, had already collapsed on the ground, with his mouth wide open and his eyes fixed on his returning son. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Ugly Stories Exposed, Evil Ghosts Blaming with Anger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Ugly Stories Exposed, Evil Ghosts Blaming with Anger. "Dad, you must miss me a lot, right?" "Jia jia jia," young Master Lin chuckled inwardly as he slowly drifted towards old Master Lin. The temperature in the Lingtang suddenly dropped by 3 degrees. Mr. Lin's face was very detestable, especially his eyes. He felt that his eyeballs were about to fall out, and the surrounding blood vessels were visible to the naked eye, all protruding. The one with a half-covered face is very terrifying, no different from some horror movies where female ghosts appear. "Son, listen to me. I didn't kill you, I didn't want to kill you. It was clearly you who committed suicide." Mr. Lin watched as the terrifying young Master Lin drifted towards him, almost causing him to wet his pants. He hurriedly began pleading with him to forgive him. "Dad, I'm so lonely. You're also dead. Come and accompany me, come and accompany me." Mr. Lin continued to drift towards Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin watched his son getting closer and closer, not happy but even more afraid, and his body trembled even more violently. Mr. Lin's wife dared not come out at all, so frightened that she hid behind and dared not move. "Wild ghost, finally delivered to your door." Just as everyone was too scared to take action, Chen Tian rushed to the scene and picked up the fresh willow twigs that had been soaked in black dog blood that he had prepared earlier, standing in front of Mr. Lin. He raised his willow branches and fiercely attacked Lin Xiaoyuan. In an instant, a crackling sound erupted from young Master Lin's body. Bang! Bounce! Bang! The sound of firecrackers was accompanied by some flames, and young Master Lin couldn't handle such things at all. He only felt overwhelmed by a mountain and flew straight out. Chen Tian's willow twig has caused a serious injury to young Master Lin. Looking at young Master Lin who was beaten away by himself, it seems that he is just a lonely and wild ghost. As long as I can help him resolve his resentment, he can still be reincarnated in his next life. If he turns into a fierce ghost, then he can only be sealed off by himself. Where do you come from? I advise you to get out of here quickly. Young Master Lin was angered by the sudden beating and stood up, shouting at Chen Tian, "I advise you to leave quickly. I can spare your life. If you insist on taking care of it, I will also kill you. I am a Taoist, and you are already under my control. Tell me your grievances and I will do my best to help you solve them." Chen Tian was still holding a willow stick in his hand, speaking slowly to the wild ghost. "Ha ha ha, it's really beyond my control. I'll tell you how I died right now. I want to see if you have any ability to defend me. I am the eldest young master of the Lin family. When I was 19 years old, I married the yellow flower daughter of a neighboring township, who is now my wife, said Lin Xiaoye with a more terrifying expression on his face on the night of the full moon. I realized that I couldn't do it. I didn't even have this function. But unfortunately, this old man urges me every day and asks my wife once a day when she can get pregnant. How could this possibly lead to pregnancy? In less than a year, when I turned 20, my father earnestly told me to come and help me. I certainly don't want to. But what's scary is that he always had this idea and even slept with my wife while I was restocking. But a grandmother told me that my father also has his own troubles. This nanny is not an outsider, she is my biological mother's dowry maid. He told me that I was born out of an affair between my mother and someone else. In fact, this old man knows everything about this matter. He knew I wasn't his child, but he still allowed his mother to give birth to me. Later, he tried every means to torture my mother, and in the end, he buried her alive. After I grew up, he started to act recklessly again, specifically finding a feng shui master and creating a pattern of losing children and having no descendants. This pattern is really good. I have known since I was young that I am different from other men. Later on, when I got married, he knew I couldn't have children, but he asked my wife every day if she was pregnant. Do you have any children? After he slept with my wife, all these years of planning were to let me experience his pain. He did this to get back at me. Thanks to my grandmother telling me the truth, otherwise I would still be in the dark, thinking about raising a child for this old man. It's clearly their fault, they insist on making me bear all of this selfishly. The most despicable thing is that he would rush to our room in the middle of the night to deal with this lowly woman and let me watch from the side. Several people were sent to guard the door, but they didn't let me leave, causing me to suffer all of this. Ha ha ha, I want to see what skills you have. Let's see how you can defend me. Young Master Lin laughed at these words, but his eyes were still fixed on Chen Tian. Shocked. Such a big green hat. This outfit represents 3 generations. I haven't seen this operation before. My woman green me, I green her son, and I also want him to take care of my son. Mr. Lin is really extraordinary. No wonder young Master Lin couldn't rest in peace after his death. The old man Ma, Ah Yang, Ah Mao, and Wen Kai who were watching the excitement all looked shocked and thought to themselves, the world is vast, and there are all wonders. Even if you can't do it yourself, why do you blame me for finding another man? Lin's wife, who was hiding behind just now, quickly jumped out and pointed at Lin's nose, cursing. Now that someone is supporting her, she is not afraid. You bitch. Young Master Lin was very angry when he saw this little slut come out, and his resentment was constantly increasing. The strong wind was blowing outside, and Chen Tian thought to himself that it was not good. However, he was extremely happy in his heart. Chen Tian quickly took out the small coffin he had prepared in advance from his pocket and stared fixedly at young Master Lin. Oh my goodness. Mr. Lin looked at the changes in young Master Lin in front of him and was so scared that he couldn't speak. His face was completely devoid of blood, and he was trembling in his chair just now. He suddenly lost weight and rolled to the ground. You despicable woman, I must kill you today and take your dog's life. Young Master Lin's body changes very quickly due to the surge of complaints. His fingernails grow an inch in an instant, and they are still sharp. Before Chen Tian could react, Lin Xiaoye rushed towards his wife and Lin Xiaoye. Young Master Lin surprisingly gained 10 years of cultivation at once. But fortunately, I can still control myself. And the fresh willow in his hand can also deal with him. It's delivered to the door. Chen Tian shouted loudly and whipped young Master Lin's back hard. Bang! I only heard a crackling sound. This willow attack was obviously not as effective as before, but it was this one that successfully delivered me to your master's side. Actually, this was all intentional by Chen Tian. Mr. Lin is a ruthless person who has done all the wrong things and lost all his conscience. I must punish him myself. He now wants to borrow young Master Lin's hand to make him suffer a bit. Go to hell. Take your life. Master Lin stared fixedly at Master Lin in front of him, making a loud roar. With a lot of yin energy gathering in his hands, he shouted and reached out to Master Lin. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Kill the ghost and complete the mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Lin Laoye's Rebellion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Lin Laoye's Rebellion. When Kai had nothing to do when he was idle, so he followed Old Man Ma to find a doctor, hoping to quickly bring the doctor to see Old Man Lin and his daughter. Law. But he can't cure any illness either, he can only stop bleeding for them. The yin energy of the fierce ghost cannot be eliminated in their body, and they will disappear in 2 more years. You two go take care of them. Chen Tian looked at a Yang and a Mao and said that he picked up a shovel and walked to the peach tree behind him. This big peach tree can finally take you back. Shovel shovels in the soil one by one, and soon the root of the peach tree is exposed. Chen Tian is now practicing 6 layers of cultivation, and his whole body is full of inexhaustible strength. As long as one passes the refining period, it becomes the artistic conception of a lantern-wielding child. Holding a spirit lamp to guide ghosts, the soul enters the cycle of reincarnation in the underworld. Chen Tian has confidence in himself and is expected to break through the realm of body cultivation soon. In the blink of an eye, Chen Tian dug out the peach tree. The roots of the tree are still wrapped in damp soil. When I returned to Ren's hometown coffin shop, I used this peach tree trunk to make coffins, and found a good place to plant the tree roots. When the spring flowers bloom next year, new branches may grow. Chen Tiangang finished digging the tree, and Old Ma and Wen Kai also rushed back with the doctor. Now they can treat their illness. When Chen Tian finished, he went to find a place to sleep, but he couldn't manage these things. The next day. The sun in the sky was dazzling, shining brightly on Chen Tian's face, very comfortable. Chen Tian yawned and then followed Wen Kai to move the peach tree onto the carriage, preparing to go back. Master Chen. Just as Chen Tian was about to leave, Mr. Lin walked out of the house, still leaning on a cane, and shouted angrily as he watched Chen Tian pull his peach tree onto the carriage. Why did you dig up our old peach tree? Our peach tree. Digged it away. Mr. Lin has aged 10 years overnight, probably due to the influence of Yin Qi. Next to him was a maid who appeared to be in her early 20s. Yesterday, something big happened and she definitely didn't rest well. Chen Tian, judging from his appearance, is likely to have a happy event soon. Chen Tian glanced at Mr. Lin in the blink of an eye, and the happy event of this girl was probably that Mr. Lin escaped unharmed. But judging from Mr. Lin's appearance, shouldn't he break the promise? Chen Tian furrowed his brows. This old man is really not a good person, and he was not afraid to respond quickly. Then I might as well remind you. Yesterday, you promised that as long as I can help you solve the matter of your son returning home, he said. You can give me this tree as a gift. Am I right? Mr. Lin. It was clearly agreed yesterday, but now you're going back and forth again. The scholar sitting in the carriage impatiently spoke back. I have received it now, and your son's problem has been solved, Chen Tian said slowly. But if it weren't for you, how could I have been injured? How could this be considered a solution? It's because of you that I got hurt. Even if I give you the money yesterday, I don't want to come back. Just take it as my mercy. But you can't move this tree. Chen Tian looked at Mr. Lin and his voice was loud, looking very energetic. Shoo. Chen Tianchuang said, Master Lin is really not a good thing, just like what he thought. Since you are not kind, then I am also unjust. Your injury was caught by a fierce ghost. If it's just to stop bleeding and reduce inflammation, it won't work. Yin Qi will directly damage your body. I have a good way here to eliminate Yin Qi, Chen Tian said with a kind expression to Mr. Lin in front of him. What kind of Yin energy enters the body? What lies are you telling me? It's impossible. Mr. Lin didn't believe what Chen Tian said. Just being caught, how can this Yin Qi enter the body? I have never heard of these before. No one has been caught by ghosts like himself. Isn't this guy really lying to himself? Did you really get Yin Qi into your body? Will I really die? He thought that if he died, would he also become a fierce ghost? The more Mr. Lin thinks about it, the more afraid he feels in his heart. Is it true that Yin Qi has entered his body? He dared not think carefully, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead. There is another way to verify it. I have Zhang Zhenin Fu here, hold it tightly with your hand. Chen Tian handed the Zhenin talisman in his hand to Mr. Lin and said. Just give it a try, I'm not afraid. Mr. Lin took the Zhenin talisman from Chen Tian's hand, half believing and half doubting. Pai li pa. Mr. Lin's fingers just touched the talisman and began to smoke. Before he could fully grasp it, the clothes burned to ashes, leaving only a trace of smoke. Oh my goodness! Help! Mr. Lin was startled by this symptom, his body suddenly retreated, and his face looked very ugly. Why did this talisman suddenly burn? Looking at the rune paper that had turned into ashes in front of him, Mr. Lin was very afraid and his heart became increasingly uneasy. This is the manifestation of Yin Qi entering the body. If you have Yin Qi in your body, I will use the Zhenin Fu. When the two come into contact, they will ignite spontaneously. Looking at Mr. Lin, who was frightened in front of him, Chen Tian's face showed no expression and showed no sympathy for him. Then he said to him, you start preparing. It's safe to go to the ground in 3 months. In fact, Chen Tian handed him the real Zhenin talisman, and he didn't lie. This guy is really going to die. However, this talisman will not ignite when it touches Yin Qi. It's only 3 months left. Burial is safety. Mr. Lin was shocked when he heard Chen Tian's words. There is an old saying that wealthy people fear death the most, which is true. They haven't squandered enough money yet, how can they die? Master Chen, please save me. You must save me, only you can save me. Mr. Lin knelt directly in front of Chen Tian, crying and pleading. The literary talent next to Chen Tian was also startled by this battle. When will the Zhenin talisman ignite when it touches together? Isn't it like this? I clearly remember not being like this. But he felt that Chen Tian would definitely not make a mistake, he must have confused himself. Give me 500 yuan in ocean first, Chen Tian said without further ado as he saw Mr. Lin pleading. Since you don't want me to take the peach tree, then I'll let you suffer a loss. What? You're asking for 500 yuan in ocean money. Why do you need so much? After Chen Tian Kai finished speaking, Mr. Lin's face was shocked as he stared at Chen Tian and said. 500 oceans, this is about to empty one's own pockets. In an ordinary family, they only spend $3 a year, but they only buy necessities such as firewood, rice, oil, and salt. Grain must be cultivated by oneself. Even if there is no food in the city, the money spent is only 10 yuan. 500 yuan in ocean is not a difficult task for Mr. Lin, but he still feels a bit heartbroken. Oh my goodness! When Kai was shocked to see Chen Tian shouting for 500 yuan in the ocean. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Catching Ghosts at the Burial Hill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Catching Ghosts at the Burial Hill. Chen Tian, junior brother, is really a money-making expert, much stronger than his own master. Master Chen, can't you give me a discount? Mr. Lin earnestly pleaded with Chen Tian in front of him. You won't be able to take any of this money with you after 3 months. Do you think it's important to consider whether it's life or this 500 yuan ocean? Chen Tianjin continued calmly, you also have to give me this peach tree. It should be, it should be. I promised you yesterday, so I'll give it to you. Mr. Lin nodded and bowed, saying. Finally, he made up his mind and said, wait here for a while, I'll go and get your money now. Mr. Lin ultimately chose to spend money to save his life. Oh my god, 500 yuan in the ocean, making a profit so quickly is really impressive. Looking at the figure of Mr. Lin returning to the house to collect money, Wen Kai said with envy. Senior brother Wen Kai, you can earn a lot of money just as you have worked with senior uncle Lin Jiu for a few years and graduated. Chen Tian looked at Wen Kai next to him with a surprised expression on his face and began to encourage him. Oh my god, I didn't even know we could make money like this before. You made 500 yuan in just 3 sentences. Wen Kai still thinks Chen Tian is very powerful. That's 500 yuan in the ocean. Thinking about it, I feel that my master is too rigid. If I were to make money like Chen Tian, I probably would have built several big houses in the village. Wen Kai even wants to worship his junior brother as his teacher. In no time, Mr. Lin walked out of the house, holding a plate in his hand. Walking was very inconvenient and he needed the help of a maid. There are only 500 yuan in this plate. Wen Kai junior brother. Chen Tian gave Wen Kai a wink, but he still stood on the carriage and said, this is your fate. If it weren't for me saving you last night, you would have died long ago. Now that you have successfully survived, you can only live for 3 months. If you spend money to buy your life now, I will teach you how to eliminate yin qi. Now that you can live longer, this is causality. Chen Tian actually made everything up. Before his eyes, Mr. Lin had already lost control and deceived him. He didn't just come up with it casually. After reading the article and receiving 500 yuan, he said again. The method to remove yin qi is actually very simple, which is to eat a snake every day. This snake is a treasure that can help you eliminate yin qi. Chen Tian spoke eloquently. Eat a snake every day. After Chen Tian finished speaking, Mr. Lin was shocked and continued to ask, how long do you eat every day? Eat for 3 months. As soon as the words fell, Chen Tian rode a carriage to the coffin shop. Thank you, Master Chen. Thank you very much. Mr. Lin was still happy to be sold and quickly thanked Chen Tian. Now I can come back to life, and I have also passed this disaster. Chen Tian's face was full of mockery. In fact, Master Lin will die 1 year after his yin qi enters his body. But now if I make him eat a snake every day, he will definitely die after 3 months. This snake is a substance that gathers yin and can nourish yin energy. Only fire can dissolve it. Junior brother Chen Tian, you're so amazing. You've only come out once, and you can earn more money than my master's hundreds of trips. On the return journey, Wen Kai looked at these vast oceans with joy and said, it seems that I really need to practice hard and earn a lot of money after graduation. At noon, their carriage passed by the mass grave, where yin energy was strong and the mass grave looked quite large. How many wild ghosts were hidden inside? The white bones that can be seen everywhere on the road are very frightening, and it is even difficult to distinguish whether they are humans or beasts. Suddenly, a gust of gloomy wind struck, and a chill fell behind them. Chen Tianxin thought to quickly go back and make some coffins, and come here tonight to catch ghosts. Senior brother Wen Kai, how about I take you to a good place tonight? Chen Tian had another idea of literary talent and then spoke up to inquire. My current strength is not enough, it is still somewhat dangerous to go alone to catch ghosts. I must be fully prepared and bring a lot of equipment. I need to find a coolie to help me. He thought that coolies should first have great courage and strength, and it would be even better if they knew some spells. Thinking that the literary talent around me is the best candidate. In fact, the cultivation level of literary talent is higher than that of Chen Tian, and the artistic conception of practicing the 9 levels of physical fitness is only so close to the artistic conception of Jiaoding Daotong. He himself is just a 6th-level artistic conception for practicing physical fitness. Wenkai does not understand talismans, and the artistic conception of talismans has only reached 1 level. He has already reached 4 levels of artistic conception in talismans, and some ordinary ghost-killing talismans and suppressing talismans can be drawn with ease. Moreover, Maoshan tissue itself has a 2nd level of artistic conception, and literary talent is only 1 level. So in summary, with the support of these weapons, one's own strength is much stronger than that of literary talent. Although the realm of physical cultivation is a bit inferior, it won't be long before I can surpass literary talent. A good place. Wenkai thought that the good place Chen Tian had mentioned must be Yihong Courtyard. He was very happy but secretly thought to himself, he only made such a large amount of money. It's also appropriate to go to Yihong Courtyard to relax. That's really good. Yes, it's a good place. Would you like to go with me? Chen Tian saw Wenkai with a smile on his face and guessed that he must be thinking something inappropriate in his mind. It's necessary to go. Wenkai's answer was very firm. Just after noon, Chen Tian's carriage arrived at the entrance of the coffin shop. The door of the coffin shop is very narrow, and peach trees cannot be transported in at all. They have no choice but to carry them in from the backyard. Wenkai helped Chen Tian carry the peach tree inside and put it in the backyard, sweating profusely. Wenkai, why don't you go back and take a look, see if senior uncle is looking for you? Chen Tian said to Wenkai. Okay, I'll be back if it's okay. Wenkai remembered the way his master taught him lessons on weekdays, and quickly ran over to the neighboring Yizhuang, afraid that if he ran slowly, he would be scolded again. As soon as Chen Tian returned home, he packed up 500 yuan worth of ocean and only left over 40 yuan with him in the end. I still need to buy some things before going out later to subdue the fierce ghosts at the disorderly burial post. Before the zombie mission comes out, it must be quickly upgraded, otherwise it will be difficult to handle things at that time. Chen Tian used a saw to cut off the peach wood he had brought back, and dug a large pit in the backyard. He poured 2 buckets of water into it and waited for the water to be fully absorbed by the soil before planting the tree roots. After planting, pour 2 more buckets of water and bury them with soil. The peach trees are exposed outside, and then pour 2 more buckets of water. Chen Tian turned around and took out a saw and planer from the room, cleaning up all the trunk of the peach tree. 3 hours have passed. A large peachwood coffin, 3 small peachwood coffins, and a peachwood sword. It can be considered as making the most of everything, and the wood has not been wasted at all. Junior brother Chen Tian, I'm coming, I'm coming. As soon as Chen Tian finished his work, Wenkai shouted and jumped towards him, with a hint of burnt ash on his face. Wenkai, why have you been away for so long? Senior uncle has taught you a lesson again. Seeing Wenkai, Chen Tian smiled and said. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. First encounter with Ren Tingting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. First encounter with Ren Tingting. I did teach him a few lessons. Later on, I went to cook for his old man's house. If I hadn't prepared the food, I would have come to see you quickly. Wenkai answered loudly. Okay, wait for me a moment. I also need to paint this coffin with oil, and then I'll take you out to buy some things, Chen Tian said, starting to brush tongue oil. Good. Wenkai quickly agreed and then said, Junior brother Chen Tian, you've been busy for so long. Hurry up and take a break. I'll help you with small things like brushing emails. After Wenkai finished speaking, he went to Chen Tian to take the bucket of oil and started painting the coffin. Copper oil has many functions, not only can it be used for anti-corrosion but also to make the coffin look more beautiful. Chen Tian quickly went to draw a few yellow talismans to prepare for any unexpected needs. An hour later, Chen Tian and Wenkai finished their work and then drove their carriage towards the street. Junior brother, why did you drive a carriage while shopping? This is to purchase goods, Wen Kai said in confusion. Buy more, you'll make money anyway, Chen Tian answered his question. It's just money. Wen Kai looked at Chen Tian with a happy face, but he felt a lot of heartache. Although they are all Taoists from Maoshan, why is there such a big difference? Rinjia town is considered a big township, with a forest of people managing the surrounding 40 to 50 villages, totaling 10,000 people. It is not difficult to see how big this Rinjia town is. So there is also a reason why Lin Jiu stayed here. He doesn't worry about not having any business in his daily life. The market in Rinjia town is bustling with crowds jostling one after another, and the shop owners in front of the small stalls are shouting one by one. The old lady who came and went on the street, the old lady holding a vegetable basket in her hand, some baskets were still empty, while others were already filled. The vegetable market has always been the busiest, and the people here are a mix of good and bad. There are some lowly thieves, but there are also ordinary kind-hearted people, as well as some wealthy families with their elders, wives, maids, and servants. Move away, the horse is startled, move away. At this moment, a girl's screams rang out, accompanied by the dust on the ground. The person in front hurriedly dodged. The car pulled by the horse at the back was racing around, and the horse suddenly went crazy for some reason. The maid in the car pulled open the curtains and shouted loudly. It's broken. Chen Tian looked at the wild horse in front of him and said to Wen Kai beside him, watch the carriage. I'll be back soon. Then Chen Tian ran towards the crazy wild horse, and when he was only one step away from the carriage, he felt the heat flowing inside his body. Sigh. With a low roar from Chen Tian, he turned around and rode on the back of a wild horse, then pulled the rope hard. Stop. At the moment he pulled the rope on the horse's body tightened instantly, and due to the huge pulling force, the horse's front body curled up completely. When Chen Tian let go of the rope, the horse finally regained its composure. At this moment, it was standing still in place. A person panting heavily followed behind the carriage, who appeared to be a butler. It's really amazing, it almost scared me to death. The maid kept talking and finally breathed a sigh of relief, and the horse finally stopped. Tsue, has the horse stopped? At this moment, a coquettish inquiry came from the carriage. Upon closer inspection, it was a graceful woman with a slender figure. She pulled open the curtain and asked the maid named Tsue. Yes, it stopped. The horse was subdued by this young master. Tsue pointed to Chen Tian who was still riding on the horse and said. Thank you, young master, for your rescue. Tingting expressed her gratitude to Chen Tian repeatedly, and then continued, little girl Tingting, dare you ask the young master's name and where he lives? When I have the opportunity, I will definitely come and thank you. Tingting. Chen Tian looked at the woman standing in front of him, suddenly feeling surprised in a black long dress. In the movie, Tingting was clearly wearing a pink princess dress. But how does what I see differ from what I see in the movie? This is clearly a lady from a wealthy family who is very particular about every smile and frequency. Are you Tingting? Chen Tian asked Tingting. Yes, did you know me before? Tingting was also puzzled by Chen Tian's question and turned around to ask. Oh, I don't know, but I have a question. Why aren't you wearing that pink princess outfit? Chen Tian replied. Oh, that's it. After thinking for half a day, Tingting finally remembered it and said, I'm planning to wear that outfit tomorrow. How do you know I have that outfit? That's right. Chen Tian thought that Tingting must not only have that set of clothes, but he felt that this set of clothes was more suitable for Tingting. Tomorrow, she should follow the master to visit Uncle Jiu and discuss the matter of relocating the tomb together. At that time, she should be wearing a pink princess dress. It turns out that this plot is not much different from the one in the movie. At night, the Four Eyes Taoist will rush a group of zombies through Rinjia town for rest. Tomorrow, He will discuss the relocation of graves with Uncle Nine and Mr. Ren. Now that the horse is fine, I'll leave too. See you when there's a chance. As Chen Tian spoke, he got off the horse and rushed over to Wen Kai's side. This person is really strange. Before Ren Tingting could react, she asked the maid Tsuetsue next to her, what is Tsuetsue's name? Miss, he didn't say anything. Tsuetsue was very surprised, and then she spoke up and answered. It's broken. It's broken. Ren Tingting was extremely anxious and quickly reached out to search for Chen Tian's figure. But there are many people coming and going on the street, how can we find Chen Tian's figure? Ren Tingting's heart was empty. Miss, as long as you're okay, you scared me just now. After finishing speaking, the groom also came to the side of the carriage and anxiously asked Ren Tingting. I have nothing to do, let's hurry back. After answering the groom's words, Ren Tingting put her head back into the carriage, but Chen Tian's handsome face was already unforgettable in her mind. She also had an extra smile on her non-smiling face. Chen Tian, what are you doing? Wen Kai was shocked to see that Chen Tian had returned unscathed, and stared fixedly at Chen Tian in front of him. That horse was so crazy just now, it seemed like it was going to crush everyone in front of it. Who dares to go up and tame a fierce horse? Only Chen Tian ran straight over. Can you help us with this small matter? Chen Tian didn't say much to Wen Kai and quickly walked towards the animal and poultry farm. The smell of blood in the animal and poultry farm was strong, and the butchers held long knives in their hands. With their eyes closed and opened, they stabbed the black dog in front of them to death. His blood slowly flowed into the wooden barrel prepared by Chen Tian. The wooden barrel was made of peach wood by Chen Tian, but it was made of ordinary peach wood. In no time, 3 hot black dog blood bottles were filled, along with a bucket of hot chicken blood, 2 large bags of glutinous rice, and a few fierce night cats. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Go to the burial forest, female ghost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Go to the burial forest, female ghost. The place I'm going to now is a mass grave, and everything needs to be prepared. Chen Tian felt like something was missing from these things. Qin was shocked to see Chen Tian put these black dog blood and chicken blood on the carriage. I thought to myself, where exactly is brother Chen Tian taking me? Even if it is used to deal with zombies and wild ghosts, it only requires a bowl of dog blood and a bowl of chicken blood. What are you preparing these few barrels for? Do you want to take a shower? Amnesty. Chen Tian threw the drawn talisman into a peach barrel filled with blood, and the talisman instantly turned into ash. Fresh blood will layer when exposed to the air for a long time, and it will layer faster when stored in a wooden bucket. You must not let these blood layers separate on your own. Senior brother Wen Kai, pour this dog blood into another empty bucket. Chen Tian told Wen Kai and picked up the sticky rice next to him. Good. Wen Kai realized and lifted the peach wood bucket filled with black dog blood, pouring it halfway into another empty bucket. Chen Tian picked up the glutinous rice and poured it into an empty bucket, soaking it in black dog blood. Only in this way can we deal with those evil spirits. What if my own strength is not good? Wearing these equipment is also a way for chickens to eat mushrooms. It's getting dark after they finish their work these days. Wen Kai told his master about the itinerary of going to the mass grave to catch evil spirits tonight, and Lin Jiu didn't say anything. He thought it would be better for Wen Kai to gain a deeper understanding. Chen Tian drove the carriage and was very happy to see its equipment. He also brought a pile of firewood and added a late-night snack to the chicken that had just been killed. Wen Kai is very happy. Although it's different from what I thought, not going to Yihong Courtyard for fun, going to the mass grave to catch ghosts is just as exciting. When Qiuxing comes back from his aunt's house, he will still be able to show off well to him. Approaching the mass grave, there was darkness, and the 2 lanterns hanging on the carriage emitted a faint light. Waves of Yin wind blew towards them, and the situation was truly terrifying. As soon as they entered the mass grave, a few crows flew out next to them, rustling and screaming in their ears, unable to distinguish between humans and ghosts. "Senior brother Wen Kai, are you afraid?" Chen Tian asked with a smile as he saw Wen Kai's excited expression on his face. "How could I be afraid?" Upon hearing Chen Tian's question, Wen Kai became interested and quickly exclaimed, "I'm someone who dared to play games with corpses since I was 7 years old. What's so scary about this mass grave?" "Not bad, not bad. Can you help me catch the bus? I'll take a look at the back." As Chen Tian spoke, he gave the rope that pulled the horse to Wen Kai. "Okay." Wen Kai was momentarily stunned, even though he didn't want to. He took the horse rope from Chen Tian's hand. There are some differences between Chen Tian's carriage and Ren Tingting's carriage. The carriage of a wealthy family has a shed on top, and people sitting inside feel like they are in a room. But Chen Tian's carriage is a very ordinary carriage, with only one board. The weather is pretty good tonight, you can see the stars in the sky, and the moonlight is also very bright. The moonlight shone directly on the bamboo forest in the disorderly burial mound, and the bushes and grass on the roadside made a faint sound, as if something was drilling inside. "Chen Tian, is everything ready now?" Wen Kai was very nervous and stretched his neck to look at Chen Tian behind him, whispering. "The situation is pretty good," Chen Tian replied. Okay, as long as the situation is okay." Upon hearing these words, Wen Kai finally felt relieved. In the past, he followed his master out, and no matter what, his master wouldn't leave him alone. But tonight the situation is completely different, and I am very nervous. Now I actually drove a carriage myself. Chen Tian sat at the back, picked up the willow leaves and opened his eyes, then looked around, thinking where he could see the fierce ghost. Whispering, "Ah ah ah." At this moment, the crying of a woman from ahead interrupted the tense atmosphere. This voice is quite ethereal. "Chen Tian, why don't we bypass this section?" Wen Kai was very nervous when he heard the crying in front of him, and then he said to Chen Tian. Chen Tian was speechless when he heard Wen Kai's words. This kid was clearly afraid, but his goal today was to catch ghosts. What's the point of avoiding them? Today is the day to catch ghosts. You can't go around, keep moving forward. Wen Kai could only muster the courage to continue driving forward. Wen Kai's heart was about to jump out of his throat, and his face was drenched in cold sweat. They were already very close, and soon Chen Tian saw the figure. This person is a girl of about 17 or 18 years old, wearing a silver-white fringed long skirt, with very long hair that drapes over her shoulders. But Chen Tian couldn't see her face, but looking at her back also revealed how beautiful the girl was. "Senior brother, you stay here and guard the car. I'll go take a look first. If I have anything to do, come and save me quickly." Chen Tian pointed to the equipment on the car for Wen Kai, and then walked towards the woman. "Okay, senior brother, try your best to give it your all." Wen Kai quickly nodded. As long as Chen Tian didn't let him go first, he would be happy with anything he said. It's hard to say what kind of lonely soul and fierce ghost is hidden in the mass grave, and Wen Kai has never been with his master before. If he encounters someone he can't handle, he's just waiting to die. Chen Tian tightly held the ghost-killing talisman in his hand, with glutinous rice that had just been soaked in black dog blood in his pocket, and 2 bamboo tubes pinned to his waist were chicken blood tubes. In no time, Chen Tian saw the girl's face clearly. This person is not a girl, but a female ghost. More precisely, it is a wild ghost. Compared to young Master Lin, it is much worse. The female ghost in front of me is about 7 feet tall, with a thin and small body, but her facial features are very delicate. She is bowing her head and crying softly. This pitiful appearance is different from ordinary female ghosts, and their faces are as pale as wall paint. The face of this female ghost was surprisingly flushed. Chen Tian carefully examined and found that his feet were very beautiful. She was not wearing shoes, and Chen Tian immediately saw her clearly. She was really beautiful. This looks like a fairy, it doesn't seem like a female ghost at all. Oh my goodness. Chen Tian scrutinized the female ghost and let out a scream. It was really beautiful. Compared to Tingting, it's no difference. Now the female ghost is kneeling on the ground crying non-stop. Why do you keep crying? Chen Tian walked slowly over and asked cautiously. The female ghost ignored Chen Tian and continued to cry, which was truly heartbreaking. Chen Tian turned his head to look at the tombstone again, and his eyebrows tightened instantly. There was no name on the tombstone, not even a word. This is actually an unnamed monument. Chen Tian didn't dare to think about it, and he pinched the ghost-killing talisman in his hand a little more. Whenever he found something wrong, he was ready to kill her directly. What if she looks good? Once haunted by evil spirits, Chen Tian will not be weak. Woo-woo, I am crying for myself. This female ghost is finally willing to talk to Chen Tian. Is it you buried inside this nameless monument? End of this chapter.